how to draft a customized skirt pattern with your own measurements. That's what I will show you today. Hello and welcome to yet another video on my channel. For those who are new here, my name is Elenia and this is Soft Skill Atelier, where I teach you all the skills you need to bring your fashion ideas to life, from concept to completion. I did it again. I started a new survey about the struggles of finding fitting clothes while shopping. And oh surprise, 80% of the participants said they have a hard time finding clothes that fit, and only 18% of the participants said they were lucky enough and they have no struggles finding clothes that fit. To be honest, that is not even surprising to me. Most of the commercial sizes are mainly developed through some formulas that have more or less the same proportions as their outcome. Problem is though that not all of us have the same proportions. That means up to 80%, according to my survey, don't match the standards of the fashion industry, and that can be quite frustrating. But here's the good news: we can hack the formula by feeding it our own measurements and create a pattern that really fits our body. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you right now. For the doomed 80% and everyone else who wants to learn how to create a skirt pattern, stay with me until the end and you will have your own customized skirt pattern. It will be a bit of a number juggling and a bit of math, but don't worry, math has never been my strong suit and I still made it, and so can you. Make sure you watch this video thoroughly and don't miss any crucial steps on the way. The skirt pattern is usually the first pattern you make when you start learning pattern making. That's because it is the easiest pattern in the Western pattern making world. I am basing my pattern making off of the German pattern making system called Müller & Sohn. That's what I also learned in fashion university, and that's why I'm using this. But now I have talked enough, and I would say let's get started by looking at all the tools and materials we need for today's session. The list definitely resembles more a geometry class than a fashion tutorial. But this is the truth behind the glamorous fashion world. It is actually very technical and nerdy most of the time. So here we go. We need a ruler, the longer the better, a set square, a tape measure to measure yourself, a pen. I use a ballpoint pen that is actually amazing because you can erase it. And it also disappears with heat, so it actually is the perfect fabric marker as well. Paper scissors, a calculator or good skills in mental math, and a big paper. To make a custom fit skirt, we need to take first 3 different measurements: the waist, the hip, and the length of your skirt. I am using this measurement sheet I have created for the video to put all the measurements and further calculations in. This is very helpful to keep an overview over all the calculations and numbers you need to create your own customized pattern. You can download it for free on my website. You will find the link in my description. Now, take your measurement tape and stand in front of the mirror. Make sure you wear clothes that are close fitted so your measurements won't get manipulated by too much fabric of your clothes. The first measurement you need is your waist. Make sure you measure around the smallest part of your waist. That's the number we need. Write it down to the first box next to waist. This is where the full number of the circumference goes. Next, we need the hip measurements. Here you need to make sure that your tape measure goes around the widest part of your hip. Turn around so you can see yourself in the mirror from the side, and make sure that the tape measure goes horizontal and is not in a sloping line. Write your hip size into the first box of the hip row. The next measurement is totally up to you. It is the length of your skirt. This is a length you can decide all by yourself. Place the beginning of your tape measure on the level where you have measured your waist before, and measure your preferred length from there. The standard length for your basic skirt pattern is 60 centimeters. For me, this was way too long and I decided to go with 45 centimeters. Write down your length in the length row. In general, if we draft patterns, we only draft half of the pattern because the other side is just the same but mirrored. That obviously won't apply if you have an asymmetrical design. But for now, we want to have a pattern that's identical on both sides, so we will only draft half of the front and half of the back side. That's why we also only need half of the circumference. So we divide the waist and hip by 2 and write down the number in the next box. These are the most important digits in our future process today. That's why they are shaded on my template. We divide the numbers again and get the quarters out of it. And then we also need a 1/12 of the hip circumference. Next, we do some preparations for the hip shaping of the skirt around the waist. For that, we take the shaded hip measurements and subtract the waist measurements from it. That is the total excess width we need to take out from the waist in relation to the hip. Don't worry if you don't understand what I'm talking about right now, you will understand in the process. This number you write down in the total box. Next to it there's a side seam box where you note 50% of the total excess number. Then divide the other half of your total excess by 3 and write down that number into the front dart box. And the rest goes to the back dart. If there's too many digits after the comma, round them up or shift the numbers slightly. The dart lengths and some other calculations we'll be talking about later when we need them. Otherwise, it gets too confusing. So finally, we are ready to work on our pattern. Make sure you have a big surface where you can roll out your paper. Fix it on the side and get your pen and ruler ready. First, we draw a vertical line on the right side of the paper in the length that our skirt will be. For me, this is 45 centimeters. Mark the upper end with the word waist point and the lower point you can call length. Additionally, we need to add the hip point, 20 centimeters below the waist point. That's a defined value that varies between 19 and 23 centimeters. You find that number as well on the skirt pattern drafting sheet. I picked the value right in the middle. One last point on the line that marks the upper hip point. It is 8 centimeters below the waist point. We start drawing a horizontal line from the hip point into the width of half our hip size and make one mark mid-line. This mark will define our side seam position. From this position, draw a vertical line all the way up to the waist height and all the way down to the length. We will set a horizontal line as well on the level of your waist and your length. Another vertical line goes down on the left side of the whole pattern. Next, I draw a dotted horizontal line on the level of our upper hip point. And last but not least, we add another 1 centimeter above the waistline, mainly in the middle of the draft. Now it's time for taking away the excess width from the waistline. For that we go back to our sheet. First we go to our side seam number and make a mark on each side of the middle point. So the two marks are the full side seam value apart from each other. Next, draw 2 lines from the hip middle point to the front mark and 1 to the back mark. Now we have the position of the side seams prepared. For your orientation, we now have the front skirt part on the left side and the back skirt part on the right side. Next, we will define the position and the direction of the front dart. For that we need that mysterious 1/12 of a hip circumference. It will be used to create a line parallel from the new tilted side seam line. I am using a set square for the measuring and the shifting. Draw the line from the hip line all the way up to the waistline and even a bit higher. Now you measure the waist distance from the left end of your back skirt to the waist point. In the middle of that distance is your dart position for the back dart. Now we go back to the front and take the front dart value, put a mark on the right side of your front dart point. For the back dart, take the back dart value and distribute it evenly on both sides of the dart mark. Next, we'll be going back to our number sheet and do another small calculation. For the length of the front darts, we need to use a formula. We need to take the hip depth, that is in my case 21 centimeters, divide this by 2 and subtract another 2 centimeters from it. Mine is now 8.5 centimeters. I take that value and make my mark 8.5 centimeters down the left front dart leg and draw the right dart leg accordingly. The dart length of the back dart is again a number in a defined range between 12 and 15 centimeters. To help you narrow down what the perfect dart length for you is, it helps to understand that as curvier your hip is, the shorter your dart will be. I decided I go with a rather short dart of 12.5 centimeters. And you can also narrow the ends of the side seam on the hemline by a bit to make a more shaped skirt. But that again is up to you. So remember when we added that 1 centimeter on top of your waistline? That is a reference line for rounding out our waistline. Since everything gets three-dimensional through the darts, we also need to shape the waistline accordingly. So first we will round that tilted side seam. For that I will make some marks on the upper hip level, adding 0.75 centimeters on each side, and then draw a curved line from the hip point over the upper hip point all the way up to the waistline plus the extra 1 centimeter. I am using this old curve I forgot to add on my tools introduction. You can also use your hand to do so. Make sure the curves from the back and the front are more or less identical. Now the tilted side seams need to be connected with the rest of the waistline. We need to do that in a 90-degree angle. The same also needs to be done on the corners of the darts. But first we need to extend both dart legs by 0.5 centimeters on both sides and then connect all corners with a round shaped line so that everywhere where a dart or a side seam and the waistline is connected, we have a 90-degree angle. And now you can cut out your self-made skirt pattern. Disclaimer: do not cut your dart, but do this instead. We also will never cut out the dart in the fabric, but only sew it away. This technique imitates how the dart fold will lay in the skirt. Fold it towards the side seams and cut it off in the shape of the waistline. If you unfold it again, I will have a slight corner above the dart. I will soon show you how to actually make a skirt out of this pattern and also how to further manipulate the skirt pattern. So store your pattern well and maybe even copy it on a thicker cardboard material. And that's it. You made it. Congratulations! Thanks for watching my video. I hope I could help you with your first steps in the world of pattern making. If you managed to make your skirt pattern, I am more than happy to see your results. Please tag me in it or send me a message. You can also follow me on Instagram to keep up with my future releases and with my surveys. If you like my videos and you want to support me, do all the good stuff and subscribe to my channel and like and comment my videos. I will be forever grateful. I see you next time. Bye!